feel like a day older than you did in, eighth grade. But I do. Else, yeah, that's right. Well, whatever. Crossed. And anyway, yeah, my wife's in Laurel, Mississippi. She was in Laurel, Mississippi this weekend. She's on her way back, huh? Well, she may have gone there. I don't know, but that's where that show Hometowns made. So she met Ben and Aaron at this fundraiser thing. So yeah, she got the big experience. She took this, it's said a limo ride, but it's a Hummer. They drive you around, show you a lot of the houses that they renovated, and anyway, she went with a friend of hers. All right, there's a. All right, well, welcome everyone to week 3 out of 4. And it's good to see everybody. I know y'all had Wayne and Tammy Roberts here yesterday. They were out at our place last year, and the year before that, Wayne was our fill-in preacher while we were looking, so we know Wayne and Tammy real well. Let's start out with the song. I picked number 142, "Worthy Art Thou." Worthy of praises, Christ our Redeemer, worthy of glory, honor, and power, worthy of all our soul's adoration. Worthy art thou, worthy art thou, worthy of riches, blessings, and honor, worthy of wisdom, glory, and power, worthy of earth and heaven's thanksgiving. Worthy art thou, worthy art thou. Today we're going to talk about, after we do a review and some more singing, talk about song selection. If you didn't know, the song was written by Brother Tillett Tedley. He's written a lot of songs, and if you didn't know that, or didn't know this other fact, he used to be the preacher at Johnson Street in Greenville many years ago, long before I was there, back in the 60s, 50s, 60s. He was there a long time, and some of our members still, when they were much younger, but they grew up there, they remember being invited over to his house and to help him work through a new song he had just written a time or two. So they got to be on, kind of hear the song before the rest of us, thousands, tens of thousands later, get to hear those songs. All right. Week number 3, song leader training. And we will start with a review. So here's our syllabus for the week. We've done role of the song leader, starting the song, and then about the time and tempo, time signature and tempo, and what to do with your hand. So week 2 was about pitching the song, the key signature. That was last week. We talked about it. And today I'm going to give you, these are just my personal thoughts on selecting a song. And they're worth the price of admission that you paid to get in here. So you can do with it what you want. But these are some things that ideas that I either found helpful or that I sort of live by when I select songs or guidelines that I use. So I want to go through some of those. And then next week will be miscellaneous topics. That's because it's not a single theme. And most of next week, I hope, will just be, we'll sing. So if that's the week you want to make sure you get plenty of people here for helping sing, then that would be a good week. All right. That really sped through quite a bit. All right, so summer week 1, the one overriding priority, and if you don't get there's like one thing every week that I hope that at least if you just learn one thing every week, that it's the first week is don't detract from the song service, from the worship service. Enhance it. You're there. The ideal song service is that the worship service is over and no one can really remember who led the singing, right? That's kind of the ideal that you would like. It's not that it's going to happen that way, but you want to be so much helping the service along and helping people to worship God, that they don't even really pay attention to who's leading. It's all about the songs and the meaning of the songs and the encouragement we provide each other and the worship that we provide to God. So that's our number one rule: is don't it's our overriding priority. Don't detract from the worship service. Enhance it. So start the song. When you start it with emphasis and enthusiasm, so that everyone knows for sure that you're starting the song and they can join you. It doesn't take a while for them to get there. The time signature tells you the basic rhythm. Essentially, is it 4 beats to a phrase or 3 beats to a phrase, and that's what it tells you. And then for your hand, I recommend just simple up and down motion. If you get advanced and you want to do something else and it works, then that's fine. But just a simple up and down motion. And the corollary to that is if you don't have much of a sense of rhythm, don't know the beat, keep your hands still. Just hold on to the pulpit or podium, because otherwise you're going to just throw off people if it's just a random arm movement that has nothing to do with the rhythm of the song, which it happens for some song leaders. And then last week we talked about the key signature. The key signature tells you how to pitch the song, how high or how low. In other words, I didn't explain what the pitch was, I don't think, but the pitch is just how high or how low a note is. And so you need to find that out from the key signature, and that is indicated through the sharps and the flats that you'll see at the beginning of the line. In this case, there are none. It tells you it's the key of C. But if it has one sharp, it's key of G, one flat's key of F, and so forth. 2 sharps is D, 2 flats is B flat, and you just learn that through memorization. But if you have shape notes, then you have an advantage in that all you have to do is look for the shape note. In fact, I'll tell you, this is what I generally do. This morning, so I was song leader this morning at Creekside, and so I go in there, and they have the songs printed out for me, and in a full song form. We use the paperless hymnal, project them on the screen, but they've got them printed out for it. And what I go do, because I do use pitch pipe, is I went and just go look for the do shape, which is the triangle with the flat bottom, and I see what note that's on. I write that down, and that's what I use to pitch the song. So that's if you have shape notes, it makes it much easier. Just look for the triangle, and you got it. And so you have to know what to do with it once you find it, but still, that's the key. I was trying to remember. I think I told you at least part of the story last week about why I use a pitch pipe. I used to not use it and got along okay. My dad had one, but he only used it for special occasions. But he had really good, pitch, natural pitch. But I had vocal cord surgery. Did I tell you that? So I had vocal cord surgery 10 years ago nearly. And leading up to that, there was about a year that I didn't lead singing at all. About 6 months leading up to it, and about 6 months after the surgery. And because it had gotten so bad, I had these nodules, and so I don't trust my voice when it gets tired now to pitch it right, because what's comfortable when my voice gets tired is not the same as what everyone else finds comfortable. And so I use the pitch pipe just to make sure I don't mess it up for those who don't have the same warm voice that I do. And it is the only time I don't use pitch pipe is the invitation song. We'll talk a little bit about that. That'll be more. We'll talk about selecting it more than anything. But I don't. It's not that you can't use it on the invitation song, but I try not to interrupt the flow of the service, and we're kind of attuned to immediately starting that song right after the preacher says, "While we stand and sing," and or something equivalent to that. And so that's when I jump into the song. And by the way, that's another reason why I use another criteria I use to select the invitation song, which we'll talk about in terms of song selection. But put a pin in that, as they say. Come back to that and talk about another consideration for the invitation song. Not just certainly the message of the song, that's the most important, but as far as the music goes, I'll come back to that. All right, pitching the song, you can use pitch pipe. You can hum it to yourself first, and you can do all of these, or combine these. So like this morning, I had my pitch pipe. I got the pitch, and then I hummed it to myself, and then I hummed it so that everyone else could hear it. So I did. I'm just going to randomly select the song here. You are my all in all. I think that's an F. Pretty close. And so I just hummed it for everybody. You are my strength when I am weak. So, and everyone could hear that before I started, and they would know what pitch. If I used a pitch pipe, some song leaders I know, we have one or two that use a pitch pipe, and they'll blow it where you can hear it. They don't just blow it right into the microphone, but you can hear it, and that also kind of helps get you ready for the song. But I give my pitch pipe is the electronic one. I just touch it up here, and I'm the only one I think that can hear it. But then I give that pitch, because not every time when I hit the pitch, it's necessarily the pitch that they're going to sing. So it could be the key that it's in, and then I'll adjust. Like in this case, "You Are My All in All" is in that key. I think maybe the next I'll have a music slide in here in a second, and that's the example. It's one I had last week. But you come yourself. You can just start with what feels right. Some people do. That's what I've done for many times. What I did just a few minutes ago, and then I suggested as just something for you to try, is that you understand what feels right for you and how that differs from the song in which it's written. So that's just a test you do on your own. Get you a songbook and a pitch pipe or a piano or something that tells you what the note is, and say, for this song, this is about this is how I would pitch it if I were in church. And then just start singing it, and then go, I wonder what key I led that in. And then you go punch around on the piano or on your pitch pipe and see how far off you are. And do that for a few songs. And if it looks like you're always, or your average is about one step low or one step high, then you can adjust. And that's adjusting on the fly is not the easiest thing, but it's easier if it goes up. If you pitch them just a little bit low, which is more the tendency of people. There's more people that pitch them low, pitch them high. And so if you pitch them a little low, then you can know that. And it's easier just to go up a little bit. So if I thought I was half a step low, typically lower than where most people's range is, then because that's not always the same, and that's getting a little advanced, I suppose. But I will look at the song and see what key it's in advance. So I told you when I wrote down the key signature, I did a little bit more than that. I looked at the key signature, and then I looked and see what the highest notes are. And if I think the highest notes are if they're too higher than what I think my congregation can sing, I'll lower it just a little bit. I don't worry too much about the basses. Like, they'll take care of themselves. It'll be fine. But I'll look at the soprano there. But like here, where the soul never dies. And if I started, if I knew that I was half a step too low, I think to myself, okay, to Canaan's land, to Canaan's land. You could, if you know how to do that, to modulate a little bit, you can go up half a step. Once again, the easiest thing is just get pitch pipe if you're concerned about that. If you tend to pitch it too high or too low, and it's not a bad idea to ask the congregation or your wife or your best friend or somebody says, how did that feel? It feels a little, if they give you that, then you know to go make some adjustments. All right, two pitches you can do: the key that the song is in and the starting note. So here's the example when they're not the same thing. So here, this is the key of G. You see the triangle upside with the flat bottom is on the word hope. If you look at hope, that top note there has that triangle. Okay, so that's a G. Okay, so this is the key of G. You also know that if you know that one sharp is the key of G, and so then you could get your pitch pipe, your handy pitch pipe, which in my case for today is this app that looks like a pitch pipe, and I could blow the G. Hear that? Which is probably what I would do, but that's not the note the song starts on. The song starts on, and then it goes up to the G. My hope, because that's the note I blew. Hope. Sorry. Hope. My hope is built on nothing less. So there, I chose to get the key that the song is written in. So what I would do there for a song to the congregation is I would probably go, I would probably do both of those, and they know where I'm going with it. My hope is built on nothing less. In this case, I may even, this gets a little high, I may even lower that half a step. Oh, geez, a little high. Let's go to F sharp. My hope is built on nothing less. Yeah, it feels comfortable. Probably do that. Okay? So when you pitch a song, you can look at that. All right, and finally, that's what you're about to do. So pick a verse. All right, when you give the pitch, you find your own pitch, provide at least the starting pitch. You could provide the key if it's different. I think this is really what I just said. Like, give both. And you could provide all 4 parts of pitch if you want. Some song leaders do that. I never do it unless I'm singing, if it's for a wedding or a funeral or something like that. But if it's in the congregation, I won't go bum 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 or basses, tenors, altos, sopranos. I won't do that. Some people do. I think that's more distracting. Once again, rule number 1, don't distract from worship, enhance it. So if that's just going to be distracting, don't do that. All right, now, everybody pick a song, all the song leaders, and lead one verse. And what I'm going to offer you is I will use my pitch pipe. You tell me what pitch you want me to give you, and I will give it to you. And then you can, start leading from there. See if that feels right. We had some, I told you we had a couple of weeks ago on Wednesday night, we had a young man that led that was just, he's like 6, and he just was, his voice hasn't changed yet. His pitch was way off. Fortunately, actually, he was really quiet. And so he started the song and I just took over. I was right there by him and I just jumped in with the right pitch and I did it. So I won't do that for you today. You just pick it and we're gonna live with it for a full verse. Okay, so lead one verse of the song. Will's my song. He's actually leading singing for us tonight at the PM worship.
All right, let's start off with number 790. 790, well, we all get to heaven, and it will be I'm not even reading. D, like D. Okay. All right, first verse of that. Sing the wondrous love of Jesus, sing his mercy and his grace. In the mansions bright and blessed, he'll prepare for us a place. When we all get to heaven, what a day rejoicing will be. When we all see Jesus, we'll sing and shout the victory. If anybody does want to bring us on board, up here,
and all God's singers get home. Yes. What a song of delight in that city so bright will be wafted neath heaven's fair dome. How the ransom will raise happy songs in his praise when all of God's singers get home. When all of God's singers get home. the sorrow will come. There'll be no place like home when all of God's singers get home.
Number 140. Yeah. Well, no, I downloaded it last week. I'd forgotten about these. 140. Wonderful story of love, tell it to me again. Wonderful story of love, wake the immortal strain. Angels with rapture announce it, shepherds with wonder receive it. Sinner, oh, won't you believe it? Wonderful story of love, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful story of love. Did I start it lower than that? Step lower.
Beulah Land. Forgive me, I don't have a pitch pipe, and I don't have a perfect pitch. G. I've reached a land of love divine, and all its riches freely mine. Here shines a dim one blissful day, for all my night has passed away. Oh, Beulah Land, sweet Beulah Land, as on the highest mount I stand, I look away across the sea, where mansions are prepared for me, and view the shining glory shore, my heaven, my home forevermore.
So far, 141, words in the music. 141. If you want to do the pitch back on an A for me. You are the words and the music. You are the song that I sing. You are the melody. You are the harmony. Praise to your name I will bring. You are the Lord of lords. You are the mighty God. You are the King of all kings. So now I give back to you the song that you gave to me. You are the song that I sing.
All right. Now, week 3, new topics. Selecting the song. So, as I said before, these are just my thoughts on things that you should consider when you select songs. And there are more things that we could add. In fact, before I even say anything, let's just discuss it. And if I hit it later in my notes, then we'll just go on past it. If you were to if you do select songs for a song service, or if you were helping to plan a song service, what would be the things that you would use to help guide that selection? Who led singing this morning? Here. What did you, name one thing that you used when you selected the songs that you picked today? Well, what guideline would you use, or what thought process would you use in order to decide, I'm going to sing this song? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's about 10 of them. They all start with who, why, or what, they're in the W's there. Why do you wait? Who at the door is standing? Yeah. Yeah, so you pick them along the theme. So certainly for the communion song, for the invitation song, and we'll talk about those here in a minute. But yeah, you pick it along a theme, start off with something that kind of gets the congregation in a worshipful mindset, maybe, right, like a worship the King, or, something like that. He is Lord, King of Kings. What is that? We will glorify. That's what I was looking for. You picked one what? Oh, no one knew, yeah. So we'll talk about that too. All right, well, and sometimes you don't, especially if you're new, you don't know, you're not, I know, but if you are new, you don't know what the congregation knows. Yep. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Otherwise, you're up there by yourself, and with the one person in the back that also knows it. Yeah. So you don't be out there sort of hanging, being by yourself. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Right. So that you kind of that's the tone you want to set. You want to set a tone of encouragement. You set a tone of praise to Christ. I tend to do that for a closing song. I tend to want to leave everyone with a song that they kind of will, kind of set the tone as they leave the building. So I think about that, whatever that tone is, that this is what I want people to, think about as they leave. Okay. Any other thoughts? All right. Well, here's some of my thoughts. Rule number 1: lead songs you know. Okay. I suppose rule number 2 is lead songs the congregation knows, but not necessarily. That's I'm going to put that in. I should put that. Next time I do this, somebody asked me to do this in about 25 years. I should write that down. So, but yeah, you should lead songs that you know. So I'm going to say that even if the congregation doesn't know them, you need to know them, because you need to get up there, and unless you are asked, and every now and then on a Wednesday, we used to do this we still do it on fifth Wednesdays. We'll do singing. That's what we do at our congregation. And sometimes on those fifth Wednesdays, we'll ask for, people select. You can, or two, or whatever, request a song, suggest a song. In those instances, when somebody else has asked you to do it on the spot, you do the best you can, and everyone understands, because that's the thing. They just asked you to do it. You don't really know it, but you'll do the best you can. Outside of that, make sure you know the song. If you don't know it well, but you really want to lead it because you think it's the right song, or you really like it, it's just the right one, practice it until you know it. Because you want to be able to get up there, other than necessarily having the words memorized, you should be able to not look at the music when you're there. You should be able just to sing it. And most of the songs we sing are songs that you would lead, or songs that you've probably grown up with. So they're not, it's not hard to do that. And for those people that don't lead singing all that much, or feel a little uncomfortable, we'll just lead songs and it's much easier, to do that. But that's the number 1 rule: lead a song that you know, because if you don't, it violates the overall number 1 rule, which is what? You distract from the worship. If you're up there fumbling with the song, and they're fumbling with the song, you have not really helped the congregation worship. You haven't done it. You might, at best, you may have prepared them to worship the next time you lead the song, because you'll all know a little better. That's the best you can probably say about it. Or if somebody that out there does know the song and it's meaningful to them, but if they're watching you fumble, it's probably more frustrating for them than it is anything. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I put that in here or not, but I know when I've taught the youth group at our church, the young men, I have that in there. Don't, certainly for them at that age, don't introduce a new song on a Sunday morning. That's kind of my rule of thumb, is if you're going to introduce a song, good on a maybe Sunday night or a Wednesday night, especially Wednesday night, or if you've got a training like this next spring, we actually have scheduled on the education calendar. We're going to do it's a singing class. It's a great time to introduce new songs for at least a subset of the congregation. For those who are going to be in there, not everyone will be in there, but for those who are there, that's one of the things we're going to do is learn some new songs. So then that's the setting that it's intentional. But yeah, if you're learning the song, you are not worshiping while you're learning the song. And if you go visit a place and you don't know the song, that's just kind of the way it's going to be, is because you're going to do the best you can while you're there. But the more you're focused on getting the notes right, the less you're focused on what you're singing and the words that you're singing. Make sure that the songs are within the congregation's ability, which is not the same as songs that the congregation knows, which that's important too. But this is about within their ability, which means if it's a congregation if it's a 800-member congregation at a university where you got a lot of young, talented voices or something, yeah, you can. Your range of what songs are within the congregation's capability is bigger than it is if you don't have that setting. But that just means really don't make them too high or too low, especially too high. That's really what it comes down to, or too technically difficult. Where it's like so I'm part of this project called the Timeless Psalter. I don't know if you probably haven't heard of it. It's not a well-known thing, but it's an effort to write songs based on each of the Psalms in a modern setting. Actually, for each psalm, there's at least 2 songs that get written. One of them is supposed to be contemporary style, and by contemporary they mean in the last 200 years. So it has like a chorus, like a verse and a chorus. That's considered modern, and then the other style is more of the, before then. There's some Gregorian chants in there, or chants. There are some just that are just nothing repeats. It's just a line. But the music repeats, but the word, there's not like a chorus and even a line that repeats in the chorus, or a line that repeats like at the very end. That's considered modern. That wasn't a necessary thing. But anyway, I'm part of that. If you're interested, there's a timelesspsalter.com website. They put out some CDs and they've got books. And it's 3-volume set, and the 3rd volume is supposed to be released later this year. But that's a hobby of mine. Is I like to write songs, and I've got some songs that are included in that. And but they rate each of the songs with quills. 1 quill means any congregation ought to be able to sing it. And it goes all the way up to 5 quills. And 5 quills says that maybe if you're a trained choir, like at a university, you could probably do a 5 quill, but it's got all, stuff that goes on all over the place. And you don't want to do 5 quill songs at a congregation. You want to keep it to 1 or 2. If you got an advanced congregation, throw in a 3 every now and then. But you don't want it to be too complicated, because once again, the more complicated it is, the more distracted the congregation is in singing it. If they know it really well, it can enhance it. This morning we sang a song. It's not in any. There actually is a version of the Papers Hymnal, but we have a different version that we sing. But it's called "Do Not Fear," based on Isaiah 41. I am the Lord, do not. There's a sort of an echo there. You know, that gets you up on the scale a little bit, but we know it so well that it's not a big deal. We just sing it, and everyone's sung it so much. So that's within our congregation's ability, but it took us a little bit to learn it before it got there. All right, make sure the songs are scriptural and appropriate. Okay, and you might think, well, it's in the songbook. It's got to be scriptural and appropriate. Not necessarily so. So here's an example. There's a song. It's a completely fine song. Precious Memories. It's probably in the song. I should have looked it up. I don't know if it's in the songbook. It's in most songbooks. Does anybody know what Precious Memories is about? I'll tell you the reasons it's in the book, I believe, because it has the word angel in it. Angels. Is it in the book? Yeah. Do you know what the angels are in the song? They're precious memories. The angels are the memories. The angels are not talking about God's angels, his servants that serve him, that conduct his business. So the whole song is just about reflecting upon memory. Loving mother, something father, you know. If you just read through the words, it's not a worship song. It's a perfectly fine song. It's a pretty song. It's a song that makes you think about good, happy times with your family when they were growing up or whatever. But it's not a worship song. So just because it has the word angels in it and it's in your book doesn't mean it's necessarily a song that you would want to lead in a worship service. I think I'll show that here in a second. So that's about being scriptural. That's not really an unscriptural song. It's just ascriptural. It just has nothing to do with the Bible, really. And so I would not lead that song in a worship service because it's got nothing to do with worship. And there's some songs that have, I have some personal rules that any song that's, and I don't, it says it sounds like Jesus is your boyfriend. Any of those songs, we can talk afterwards about what some of those songs might be, but they're just, you know, kind of, it make me feel sort of icky to even sing them. I just personally avoid those songs. There are some verses of some songs that I won't sing because I think the verse is telling a scriptural thought that's not really scriptural. That's up to you. I don't have a list of those. I have seen lists of those. I've seen people that really dissect, and some of them go way overboard, in my opinion, about, you know, the appropriateness of certain songs. But there are certain verses that I just won't lead, or songs that I won't lead because I don't think that they're, you know, that the script they're consistent with Scripture. Also, being appropriate means really understanding what the song is saying, because "Break Thou the Bread of Life," good song. That has nothing directly to do with communion, but I've heard it many a time led with the intention of getting people's minds ready for communion. But "Break Thou the Bread of Life," the bread of life there is not the bread that's part of the communion service. It's the word. You know, as it's a song to Jesus, as thou did, you know, break the loaves beside the sea. But it's really, what it's saying there, even though it talks about a loaf there, it's talking about preach the word, break the bread of life. And so make sure you understand what the song is really saying. And so once again, that's a completely fine song. It's just, and you can lead it before communion if you want, but don't think you're leading it because it's helping people think about the cross, because the words of the song have nothing to do with the cross or if it's leading up to it directly. I think I put those in there. Yeah. So break the bread of life, not about the Lord's Supper. Precious Memories, no spiritual truths there. It's just a nice song about reflecting on good times with your parents and memories that you had. So make sure that they are scriptural and appropriate. That's a fun thing to do sometimes, is to look. I say fun, you know, but if you notice that, if you sing through the song, you sort of notice that, go, well, I wonder what is that really saying? We should all be doing that every time we sing a song, right? Is, do I agree with those words that I'm singing? Is that really something? And I've known people that had a personal issue with a given verse, and I've led singing, and I can see, I've talked to them about it, that they, when I see it, that they just go quiet in one verse, they start singing. And it's because they don't think that verse is right. And, you know, that's a conscience thing. They've got to make, you need to do that. Don't sing a song if you don't think it's right. And certainly don't lead a song if you don't think it's Consider coordinating the songs with a sermon theme. I did that. I don't always do it, but I did it this week. I texted our preacher and asked him, "What are you going to preach on this week?" And it was had to do with God's guidance, and so I did "All the Way My Savior Leads Me" and did some songs that had to do with being guided by God. And kind of worked those. They weren't 100% songs on that theme, but a lot of them were. And so consider doing that. Jason would probably be happy to tell you what his sermon's going to be about. So you can do that if you know that you're well enough in advance that you're going to be leading and singing. I guess you would be okay with that. Yeah. Yep. That'd be ideal. See, he even said that. All right. So challenge whoever's leading singing the next month or so. Check first. Get a song. At least the song before the sermon, kind of tie that in, or the invitation song, kind of tie that in. I like to do at least those. If nothing else, you can do those two because they're kind of bookends for the sermon. Think about the purpose of the song, and that's along what Chase was talking about a minute ago. Okay, so there's praise, prayer. There's songs of praise, there's songs of prayer, the songs of encouragement, the psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. But first, just the themes. You have songs that had to do with the type, or song that had to do with certain types of songs. There's the opening song. We talked about that. I like to do a song that kind of pulls everyone into the worship and gets the mindset that we're going to be worshiping God. And so this morning mine was "We Shall Assemble on the Mountain," which is kind of a song about praise. It's about praise in heaven, but we're about getting that mindset. And then you have sets the mood for part of the service. Starts out, so I like to start out strong with some kind of praise song. Although this morning I just told you it was a little bit more. It wasn't quite a praise song, but it was about our praising God. And then there's certain songs that go along with prayer. They don't have to be about prayer. I do like to do a song more that gets you in a mindset of going to God in prayer. It doesn't have to be "Sweet Hour of Prayer" or something like that. It can be. But this morning, actually, the one I did was "That Do Not Fear." It's a song that gets you. It has kind of, but when you're done singing it, you're kind of having that reflective mindset. So once again, these are my thoughts. These aren't rules from the Bible. This is first opinions or whatever. It's where you'll find these. Communion songs, along the death, burial of Christ, the sacrifice of Christ, the cross. Those are plentiful and very appropriate. Invitation song. So I got a couple of things on that. One, make it a song that people know well, because you don't want to distract during an invitation song. I mean, you don't want to distract during any of it because it's all important. It's worship. But certainly if you're going to lead, if it's an invitation song, you don't want to distract. Just like, as a song leader, I notice when people leave during the invitation songs. And if you had to leave today, I'm not judging you, but I'm just sort of judging you. But if you were, there's some people that just make a habit of invitation song. I'm going to leave, and I don't know what their motive is. I don't want to judge them. Maybe they have something to take care of every week during an invitation song, whatever. But that's a time when you want to be. It's a song of encouragement. There may be some people that are on the fence, and you want to give them that extra bit of encouragement to come forward. We had a young husband and father baptized today, and and praise God for that. It actually was not during the invitation. He didn't come forward during the invitation. He had a Bible study set up with one of our ministers afterwards, and at the end of that, he was baptized as a result of the study. And but oftentimes there is somebody that's just kind of waiting for that. I can remember when I was younger, before I was baptized, that the song of invitation weighed heavy. I dreaded it because I knew I needed to, and it just weighed heavy on my heart whenever I'd hear that. I could feel the magnetic pull bringing me to the front of the auditorium. And so there is something special about that song. It's not as you know, the order of worship that we have is not a scriptural. There's not doesn't say we have to do this. There's a lot of things about our worship that are tradition. Invitation song is tradition. I like it. It's a good tradition, but it is a tradition. If we had a worship service that didn't have a song of invitation, we would be pleasing to God just as much as if we did have it. but we do have it, and that does play a role in helping people. It can play a role in helping people, at least to get over the fence there and make that decision. So, and therefore it needs to be one that people know. And as we've already said, one that encourages a response. Why not? Why not tonight, right? Or who at the door is standing? So you've got those that are asking, all things are ready, come to the feast. Right? Those songs that are just inviting people to respond to the invitation. And the closing prayer, on a good positive note, doesn't mean that it's got to be an upbeat song necessarily. I don't lead singing as much at night these days as I used to, and so whenever I lead singing at night, I like to end on "Now the day is over" every now and then, or something like that, because it's not really appropriate on Sunday morning to lead "Now the day is over," or it's just, that would be weird. So when I get a chance on Sunday night or Wednesday night, I might lead that one, but I do like to send the congregation out on it. This morning was "Where He Leads, I'll Follow." It was in keeping with the sermon theme about God's guidance, and so sweet are the promises. We ended on that one. Some variety in songs. Variety in key signature. So this is actually one that most people don't even give a second thought to or first thought to. But this is obviously certainly not original with me, but once I was made aware of it, I noticed that it really does make a difference. If you're doing a medley, I don't know if you ever do a medley like where you do two songs that sort of relate and they're in the same key and you sing them back to back, maybe sing the first verse of one song and sing the second verse of another. I do that every now and then, not all that often, but I do it some. That works if they're in the same key. All right, so you can just go in from one song to the next without having the congregation think about changing keys. You can still do it even if you have to change keys, but you have to be a little more skilled at making sure you get the right key you're moving to. So medleys are generally done with the same key. You just have two songs that are both written in the key of C or both written in the key of G or whatever, and you sing one after the other. Outside of that, there's something about our brains that when you do two songs in a row that are in the same key, it sort of strikes a little something that's, you probably don't know what it is, but in your mind, there's something about it that's just kind of nagging at you. It's better if you do any two songs you do in a row, if they're not in the same key. You can even change that by raising one half a step, lowering one half a step, and just that little bit will be okay. But if you do it just right into the next one with a little bit of break, it's just not as good as it could be. Once again, not scriptural, just my suggestion. And then the tempo. It's good to mix that up a little bit. If they're all the same, it just kind of blends in. And once again, this is, I'm just appealing to human nature here, and that the more variety you have in that, the less I think people focus on it. Distracting. If it was just every song's in the same key in the same tempo, if you had a whole service full of that, I think it would be distracting. I think there'd be something about it that would make you, even if you didn't know what it was. So the human brain likes little different tempos to change them up. So I suggest you do that. Occasionally include songs for children. I do "Jesus Loves Me" every now and then. I think that's good. We don't think about them as much, and I think it helps adults even to sing a song that's generally a song for children, because it kind of reminds you that they're important and that they're here and that Jesus loves them just as much as He loves you and just as much as He loves me. And it's so neat just to see their eyes turn on and go, that's one of my songs, right? And He's leading it. I know that one. And I think in some ways it kind of makes them feel a little more important, right? That one of my songs is being sung here, and it's kind of being validated. And I do this. I have done it for many years. I keep a record of the songs I sing. I don't keep a record of everyone else's songs. We have one song leader who does that. He takes the bulletin. We put our songs in the bulletin. He takes that and he records it to make sure that we get the variety that we should have, and that he doesn't redo what somebody just did last week. I don't do that, but I do it with my own songs. I have a spreadsheet. I got all the songs in there that I lead, and I select them. I'm really into spreadsheets, and so I've got it where it actually will count. I've got them tagged. I mark them whether it's an opening song or a prayer song or whatever, And I've got them tagged, and it counts them up, and it sees if I've got one of each, the right kind of songs selected, and how many I've done of that one, and when the last time I did it. So I don't expect you to geek out like I do on those things, but I do keep track so that I can try not to, try to bring in different songs that I haven't sung in a while, and so that the congregation keep those fresh, and it also helps. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so Will's leading singing this week, and Wednesday night, or this tonight, Sunday night, and I was leading this morning, so we had to get them both together. And Will said, "Would you just go look through and get a set that I did?" So I went back to 2019. I saw something he did, and I just sent those in, and I know he knew them. He knows them because he's done them before, so you can do that. All right, old songs versus new songs. This is get people that are a little. This can become a little tribe-like, where you get your songs versus my songs. Old songs are important because they give us an anchor. I love the old songs. I personally try to split them pretty evenly between old and new. And new means the 70s on up, In my life, those that were written in my lifetime, I was born in the 60s, so, anything that I wouldn't have known when I was a young child, but I learned as I got older, or that has a more modern feel, more style to it. Christ We Do All Adore Thee was written a long time ago, but it kind of has a little bit more of a modern feel to it. But we can get in a rut and just get on autopilot if you just sing the same old songs that you know over and over, and that's all you ever sing. We don't want the preacher to preach the same old sermon week after week, although I'm sure it would be fantastic, and he would do a great job at it. But you want to, you don't want a new gospel, but you want a new sermon. You want to present it in a different way, and that's what new songs do for us. They present timeless truths in a new way, kind of help us to focus on those truths in a way that we didn't before. Newer songs reflect the current language and musical taste. I have an article, or I don't know what I did with it, but I had one from 1912 that complained about those modern songs, and it was talking about Fannie J. Crosby songs, and those Blessed Assurance, and some of those newfangled songs. So every era has its own set of new songs, and what's old now at one time was new, and songs that are new now at some point in the future, if the Lord lets the earth stand, will be old. Old Testament times they didn't sing with harmony; they had different, as best we know, they had different styles of singing. So a lot of that different. All songs were new at one time. I said I geared this one to a particular audience that I wrote that. Scriptural songs didn't stop being written in the 50s. They continue to be written. And Isaac Watts, he wrote a lot. He wrote When I Survey the Wondrous Cross, wrote a lot of the old hymns from hundreds of years ago. But there's a story that he complained to his dad about all these same old songs are singing. He said, well, if you don't like them, write your own. And we get When I Survey the Wondrous Cross as a result, and other songs like that. When should they be introduced? We already talked about this. Better introduced on a Sunday night or Wednesday night, especially when we don't have visitors, because it's good. We're not about putting on a show. I mean that. We're not about putting on. We're sinners saved by God's grace. We want visitors to know that, because they can be saved by God's grace just like we can. But on the other hand, there is something about kind of not distracting from their, experience of the worship by trying to learn new songs. I would not introduce more than one new song per service, or one unfamiliar. I say introduce. I wouldn't have more than one song that people may be a little unfamiliar with it. You've been kind of learning it. I wouldn't put 3 of those in service. You need to. People lose their footing, and that you want them to be able to mostly feel like like they know the song. Never lead an unfamiliar song for the invitation song. I think I mentioned that, but and keep it within the pitch range, a fairly narrow pitch range. I think I mentioned last time that most songs that survive more than a few decades are within one octave range in terms of what most people sing, because it's easier to sing, and those just last. The ones that go up into the stratosphere, those are just not going to be sung. Those aren't going to be sung spontaneously, probably, and they're just going to lose an audience after a while. So don't. And for an invitation song, you want that to be a song everyone knows. And I would have said more practice, but here we are at 5:28. So we will just do one more song. Class up until 5:30, and I will take requests from the audience. Whether we know it or not, doesn't matter. Is there a request from the congregation? Yeah, pick a hard one. Listen, bring it on. Bring it on. Because you'll forgive me because I'm not ready for it. We've had that discussion. $5.66. Yep, that's a good one. They tried my Lord and Master with no one to defend. Within the halls of Pilate, he stood without a friend. I'll be a friend to Jesus, my life for him I'll spend. I'll be a friend to Jesus until my years shall end. That was in the key of F. I went even a half a step higher than that. So that's an example of where I should have used a pitch pipe on that one, because that really, we were singing not F, we were singing like F sharp up there. All right, we'll do one more that's within all of our ranges. I'll just leave. We started and we'll end on a Tillades Tedley song. Let's go with 124. Off we come together. 124. Oft we come together, oft we sing and pray. Here we bring our offering on this holy day. Help us, Lord, thy love to see. May we all in truth and spirit worship thee. All right, thank you all for being here. And we've got one more week, week 4, and I'm still collecting my thoughts for what we're going to talk about then. But I think probably we'll do more practice than we've done before, so everybody get a chance to lead 2 songs. All right, we'll see y'all next week.